Hi everyone, welcome to Belle's Books. I'm Carly and today I'm here to talk to you about my best books of the year so far. So now we're in August, I'm a bit late to the party. I was going to do my best books of January to June, but I just thought I'm a slow reader. I've only read 20 books so far this year anyway. And I thought I'd do a top 10. So that's what I've done. I've done a top 10 of my favourite books. I've had a pretty good reading year so far this year, and I've done no wrap-ups. So this is probably going to be a surprise to some of you. So I've also tried to rank them, which I don't usually do, but here we go. Some of these I've done individual reviews of, and if that's the case, I will link them in the description below. And also, interestingly, for someone who never rereads, I've done 3 rereads this year, and they're all in my top 10 because they're my favourite books. So let's get into it. In at number 10, I've got Bog Queen by Anna North. I will post a picture here because I don't have it. A lot of these books are library books, so I don't have the physical copies. I have done an individual review of this, so I'll link that down below. I really enjoyed this book. It was a split timeline of a contemporary tale of a scientist. She was uncovering the bones of a bog body. Bog bodies are always interesting to me. And it was a climate fiction, and it also had another timeline about that bog body, and it was following her. She was this druid just as the Romans were coming over to England. So yeah, I just loved that book. I thought it was really great. It was very much my kind of book, so enjoyed that very much. Then at number 10, I have one that I have got. This was a reread. It is Ali Smith, Public Library and Other Stories. I read this for my book club at work that I run in the library, and this is a collection of short stories. It is interspersed with testimony from various authors about the importance of public libraries and the way that they have relied on them to fuel their writing career. This book is very close to my heart, and all of the stories in here have themes that I very much enjoy about the importance of literature, connection, and there's some narration from dead characters, which I always love, and Ali Smith is very good at that. I might do another separate video of this because I would love to talk through each individual story because I've made notes on each story. And I just have lots to say about Ali Smith because she is my favourite living author, and I wrote my PhD partly on her work. So I can talk about Ali Smith for a long time, but I just really enjoyed rereading this collection. I hadn't read it for a long time. Hilariously, I don't think any of my book group really liked it. I was like, that's fine. But I had a good time. So yeah, I really enjoyed this. Do I have a favourite out of here? I don't know. They're all good, man. I just love them. I love them so much. I really enjoy the stories where she kind of dips in and touches on other authors. There's a story about D.H. Lawrence and his ashes, which is kind of tied up with identity because it's linked to a time when when Ali Smith got, well, I'm assuming this is the case because she uses experiences from her own life where she was a victim of fraud. So there's a theme there of identity, and D.H. Lawrence's ashes were transported from one place to another, and were they his ashes or were they dumped? I just find that really intriguing. So yeah, I loved rereading this collection. Would highly recommend, but yeah, Ali Smith's my babe. Okay, that was number 9. Then in at number 8, we've got Heart the Lover by Lily King. I know some people really loved this and some people just didn't, but I read Writers and Lovers a good few years ago and I loved it. Lily King's writing is like popcorn for me. I just gobble it all down. I don't know, there's something about it. I just really like the way that she, again, writes about the writing process, creativity, and books and authors, and I just I really enjoyed Writers and Lovers. And so when it came to Heart the Lover, which is a prequel and a sequel to Writers and Lovers, it just really worked for me. So yeah, I really enjoyed that book, and I've just sped through it. I read her books so quickly, but I just really enjoy them. I found it very moving as well, because Writers and Lovers I found a bit more kind of light-hearted. I read it when I was on a PhD retreat, and it was a really nice antidote to my academic work. But yeah, Heart the Lover was a bit more kind of, the first part is a campus novel, and I bloody love a campus novel. I really love books set at university, following students. I love it when students are having kind of like these deep academic conversations. I know that grates on some people and they hate it and they find it really pretentious, but I really enjoy it. So the first half worked really well for me when the main character is Jordan is at university, and she is seeing these two different guys, and yeah, they're kind of having these big academic conversations. And later on, when she is an author and she's kind of like at the peak part of her career, and revisiting those people and how those relationships have changed, I just found it so moving and I really loved it. Really enjoy Lily King's writing. Okay, then in at number 7, another reread, Orlando by Virginia Woolf. This is my university copy with the beautiful Tilda Swinton on the cover. I usually hate movie book covers, but I bought this when I was a student, and it's the one that I read. I like rereading copies that I've already read to go back and see what notes I've made. So I don't mind that this is the movie cover. I just love this. I think Orlando was the first Virginia Woolf I ever read, and I don't know, I think it's her most accessible because it's just such a fun story. I love it so much, and I really enjoyed rereading it. There were things that I'd forgotten. I read this for a book club as well, and we had a really interesting discussion. This is one of those books that I can just talk about for a very long time. So Orlando, if you don't know, is a tribute to Virginia Woolf's friend and lover, Vita Sackville-West. It is a fake biography of Orlando, who is a character based on Vita Sackville-West, set in a big house. So this character owns this estate, and the reason that Virginia Woolf wrote this was because Vita Sackville-West was not entitled to inherit her ancestral home. So there's a big house in, I want to say Kent, called Knoll. It's a National Trust house now. I have visited it, it's very nice. And Vita couldn't inherit it because she was a woman. So Virginia Woolf wrote this story in tribute to Vita, about a character, Orlando, who starts off as male, lives for 300 years, and transforms into a woman halfway through that period, lived through so much history, and gets to inherit her house. And I just loved it so much. The history part was so interesting to me, rereading that, because it's spanning a lot of years. So Orlando is kind of witnessing all these different historical things happening. So it starts off in the time of Elizabeth I. William Shakespeare has a cameo. And I just love things like that. And then it comes kind of right up to modern day when Virginia Woolf is writing kind of 1920s, 30s. And yeah, just all the changes that have happened in the world. I just loved it so much. And I really enjoyed the reflection on the transformation. So when Orlando becomes a woman, she then reflects on the way that the societal expectations of women in terms of dress and, sorry, someone just flew past my house, dress and behaviour and all of that. And I love it so much. I would highly recommend. I love Virginia Woolf. But I think, yeah, this is one of her most fun books to read. Love it so much. Okay. Then we have number 6, one that I do have. It's The Correspondent by Virginia Evans, which won the Women's Prize this year. I was so pleased with that one. I really enjoyed this. Again, read it for another book club. and it is a novel told in letters, which I really enjoy. I am a letter writer myself. I've fallen off the wagon with that recently, but I really enjoy letters as a form of communication, so this really spoke to me. So we're following our main character Sybil, and she is in her later years, and she communicates via letters to all of the people in her life. So her daughter, her best friend, the guy down the street, people on customer service lines, and it's really funny as well. I found the humour in this so clever and just just really well done. I thought this was an incredible feat to get this much character detail and development through letters. That's very clever, and I just love the form of it. Again, I found this very moving. Sybil's character development from the beginning, where she's like just a bit of a snarky snob, and kind of towards the end, she's had so much growth as a character. I just really enjoyed that. And all the other characters, I just found it such a lovely, heartwarming novel. Really, really good, and one that I will definitely return to. Okay, where are we at? We are on number 5. Now we're coming to books that I don't have because they are library books. Number 5 is Days of Light by Megan Hunter. This is a historical fiction, and it's a fictionalized tale set around the Bloomsbury group. So as you may know, I am a big fan of Virginia Woolf, and the Bloomsbury group are people that really intrigue me. So it's set around a fictionalized version of Charleston House. Charleston House is where Vanessa Bell lived with her partner Clive Bell, and it was where all the Bloomsbury set used to gather. Vanessa Bell was an artist, so there's themes about art and creativity in there, but we're following the equivalent of Vanessa Bell's daughter, Ivy, and it's about her life, and the format again is really interesting. It's told one day at a time across 6 years, so 6 days across 6 years. As Ivy is growing up, it starts when I think she's 19, and she gets kissed for the first time, and then we meet her again in another year's time and another year's time. And I just found the writing in this is stunning, so beautiful. Megan Hunter is such a beautiful writer. On a sentence level, they absolutely gleam. And as a historical novel, I just found it so beautiful. Again, watching Ivy's character development from a young girl to an older woman, going through transformation, and it's wartime as well. So there's some kind of commentary about the war there. But I just loved it so much, and it really made me want to go and visit Charleston House. Haven't got there yet, but hopefully that will happen soon. Would really recommend. If you like Virginia Woolf and the Bloomsbury set, I think that would be a great read. Okay, now we're on number 4, which is a memoir, and it is Always Home, Always Homesick, a love letter to Iceland by Hannah Kent. I think I might have mentioned this before. I read this right at the beginning of the year in January, and I just loved it so much. I think the reason that this worked for me so much was because I really enjoy Burial Rites by Hannah Kent. It's one of, it's probably one of my favourite books that is set in Iceland, and it is about the last woman in Iceland to be hanged. So it's like a reimagining of what happened there. So this memoir, she's talking about her time in Iceland when she went there as a teenager on an exchange trip. She's an Australian author. So that's a very different geographic kind of like from Australia to Iceland. Massive culture shock for her. And that was really interesting to me to hear about how she adapted to that incredibly different culture. And it documents her time visiting Iceland and writing Burial Rites and the research that she did for Burial Rites. I just found it so interesting, so fascinating. I love reading about writers' lives and how they put their books together, and so that just was incredible for me. I really enjoyed it so much. And also really atmospheric. There's something about Iceland as a place. I would like to visit it, and I just like books that take me there, and that really took me there. Okay, number 3, we have got The Hotel by Daisy Johnson. This is a short story collection. It's actually a really thin book. I think it's like 120 pages. But if you love horror, you will love this book. This is a series of short stories about this hotel in the Fens. And it's super creepy. I'm always looking for books that make me scared. And this got very close. This has... So the first chapter kind of gives you a broad history of this creepy hotel. And that, when you're thinking about horror and hotels, that immediately brings to mind The Shining, right? And this book feels like an homage to basically every really good horror movie. And every chapter then goes into a part of the hotel's history. So the first one is the broad range of all of the things that have happened at the hotel, everyone that's died and all of this really spooky things. And then each chapter goes into a specific part of its history. So the first one is before the hotel is built, a woman is kind of drowned as a witch, and it talks about the legacy of violence done on the land and how that stays there, which I find super interesting as a concept anyway. As a side note, Uncanny is one of my favourite podcasts. So yeah, the book moves through all these different periods of the hotel's history, and it deals with ghosts, obviously, and different forms of hauntings. And I just loved it so much. It was so incredible. Daisy Johnson is like such a good writer when it comes to keeping things super spooky. And if you love horror movies, I had a real fun time with each chapter going, oh, I think this is about The Shining. I think this is riffing off Blair Witch. I think this is, and matching up what each chapter was about to various horror movies. So it's just like such a good time. Really enjoyed it. Yeah, would highly recommend if you like spooky things. Okay, where are we at? We are at number 2, another spooky read, not really spooky, but unnerving and very disturbing, is Hangsaman by Shirley Jackson. Now, Shirley Jackson is obviously known as a horror writer, but this is not a horror novel, I wouldn't say so. This is a very disturbing novel, a very unnerving novel about a young girl who goes off to college. It's part campus novel, and that's one of the reasons why I really loved it, because it's set partly when she goes off to college, and it's about like the cliquey girls there and how she doesn't fit in. But it's about this young girl and her mental unraveling. So, trigger warning for severe mental health problems. Also, do look up other trigger warnings for this book, because something happened at the beginning that I really appreciated. She didn't go into it. I think I knew it was going to happen. So there is quite a traumatic event that happens, but the way that she deals with it is so good and so clever, and I just really appreciated that she didn't specify what had happened, but you knew what had happened. And I loved the way she dealt with that. I thought it was incredibly well done. So we're following this young girl, Natalie, and she's come from this family where her father is very very overbearing, and he sets her tasks. He's a writer he's an academic at a college, and he is very keen to develop her as a writer as well, which again is one of the things that I really enjoy in books. And she is very clever and so very intelligent. And so part of it at the beginning is dealing with her family. Her mother is kind of very unhappy. I think you get the impression that her mother was one of her father's students, and now she's just like, reduced to being a housewife and a mother, and is very depressed and neurotic. And then Natalie goes off to college, and gradually she just unravels. It's such an incredible novel, so clever. Again, on a sentence level, Shirley Jackson writing is very, I want to say dense, but not in a bad way. I love her sentences. She comes up with such unusual turns of phrase that really kind of take me back. Like, I'll go, wow, that is an incredible sentence. Like, I never would have put that together. So I just think, like, as a writer to study in terms of craft, she is incredible. And the way that she deals with yeah, very kind of disturbing topics, is just, yeah, she's just incredible. I love her so much. So that was, I'm really pleased that I got around to reading that. And also one that I would very much recommend for September, if you're looking for campus novels, and if you're looking for something slightly disturbing going into spooky season. Like I say, it's not like The Haunting of Hill House. There's no kind of paranormal stuff really. It's just very weird. It's a very weird book, but I love that. That's my jam. And then last, the top book so far this year is another reread, and it is Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier. I always have maintained that this is my favourite book of all time, so I was intrigued to go into this and see if that held up and whether this still was my favourite book of all time. I can now say it is still my favourite book of all time. This is a masterpiece, I think, in a masterpiece, and a perfect, I don't know, it just feels like a perfect novel to me. You might not be able to see, but I'm wearing my Rebecca earrings, one of them here, and on the other side is Jane Eyre, because Rebecca is a riff on Jane Eyre, and I just really enjoyed rereading this. It felt so great to be able to read a novel that I knew well. I hadn't read it since 2010, so it was really lovely revisiting it, and I just had the best time. Like, I love Daphne du Maurier's language. She is a master at atmosphere, incredible gothic atmosphere, and Mrs. Danvers, what a villain, yeah, and I really enjoyed rereading it, going back to it and making notes, and this time I had a lot more anger towards Maxim de Winter. This is definitely not a love story. I think it was marketed as a love story when it was published, which is wild to me because it's just definitely not. So if you don't know the plot of Rebecca, a young girl is a paid companion to an old rich lady in Monte Carlo, and she meets the mysterious Maxim de Winter, who very quickly, after spending 2 weeks together, asks her to marry him and takes her back to his big mansion, Manderley, in Cornwall. And there is the shadow of Maxim's first wife, Rebecca, who drowned in the bay. And our unnamed protagonist, which I think is an excellent move, is constantly in the shadow of this perfect first wife, and trying to win the love and approval of her new husband. By the halfway point, it takes a turn, and when I first read this, it was the only book that I've ever stayed up really late into the night to finish it, to read the last 100 pages, because I was absolutely hooked. And again, I was hooked on the reread, even though I knew what was going to happen. I just loved it so much. It's such a page turner. Daphne du Maurier's language, again, is really great on a sentence level. She's just the master. She is my favourite dead author. So between Ali Smith and Daphne du Maurier, these are my two favourite authors. So it was very nice to reread both of them. Yeah, Rebecca is still, I think, my favourite Daphne du Maurier and my favourite book of all time. It's just the best. And I always love reading her in the summer, because I first read Daphne du Maurier when I went on holiday to Cornwall in the summer. So summertime is always Daphne du Maurier time for me. I've made a separate du Maurier video about all of my collection of her works, which again I will link below. Okay, so that is my top 10, my best books of the year so far. Talk to me in the comments below. Have you read any of these? Do you want to pick any of them up now that I've mentioned them? I think I will do separate reviews of Hangsaman, because I feel like I've got a lot to say about that, and Rebecca separately. So yeah, let me know if you've read any and what you think of them, and if you're going to pick any more up, and and what your favourite books are of the year so far. Okay, now I'm going to end this video. Thank you very much for watching, everybody. I hope you're all okay, and hopefully I will see you very soon.